in this series, Flipping to Freedom, where my goal is to transition from my day job to a full-time PC builder. I've enjoyed building PCs as a hobby for years, and now I'm focused on building my brand and pursuing my dream. I hope you join me on this journey. Flipping to Freedom, Season 1, Episode 2. As you can see, Episode 1, still hanging out here. We have the RTX 4070 Ti in that with the 10900K, and that just hasn't sold. So I think people like the 4070 Ti. They don't like the 10900K at over $1,000. So we're going to try to move some parts around. I'm going to throw a 4070 in it, lower the price just a little bit, and see what happens with that one. But we don't put all our eggs in one basket, so we have Episode 2 right here. Let's check it out.
So you might be wondering at this very moment, well, I thought we were building a PC, not two PCs. I was able to locate an identical motherboard, and we're building twins. In this episode, we're building two identical computers since I have the components for two mostly identical builds. These cases used here are Deepcool McCube 110 micro ATX cases, which Deepcool, but I had purchased these before the ban. The build features a Ryzen 5 5600 6-core 12-thread CPU, which I scored off AliExpress for $85. Motherboards used in these builds are ASRock B550M SE all-white motherboards, which were picked up from AliExpress for $90 each. Personally, a white motherboard inside a black case with a white exterior should be the meta. It looks so cool. Just watch. I would have picked up more of these motherboards had they included USB-C anywhere. I expect this from a B550 motherboard, but the 500 series motherboards I thought were pretty good about including this feature. It doesn't even have a USB-C header to connect to the case, which actually works out in our favor because the Deepcool cases don't actually have a USB-C port either. Both builds are getting a 240mm liquid cooler by Thermalright, which as of this recording is $48 on Amazon. I don't even know how they make any money, but I'll keep buying at that price. We're also changing the look of our build so it doesn't look like your typical RGB fan blade setup. We opted for Thermalright TL S12 ring style RGB fans, which are $15 for a set of 3, and oddly enough the black fans cost $3 more at $18. One build is going to be using all white fans and the other all black fans. Not because I planned it that way, but because I had 2 kits on hand already. Good one. I've been using Arctic's MX4 thermal paste. When I researched it a few years back, it was in the top 10 most efficient thermal paste and higher when you remove the conductive paste. Even now in 2024, it's still one of the better performing pastes for the money. If you end up using conductive silver or metal-based paste such as thermal, grizzly, liquid metal, you run the risk of overspill causing shorts on the motherboard, which is a risk I'd rather not take. For me personally, I choose a few degrees over not having to worry about that potential headache. While I'm using different power supply brands, they are both around the same $50 to $60 mark. The Thermaltake and Cxdy both have 5-year warranties, 80 plus gold rated, and feature what a lot of people like to call the ketchup and mustard cables. My internal debate is usually whether or not to spend a lot more for black cabling or modular cables or just use extensions. I think a lot of people like the cable extension look, so we trade that $10 to $20 savings and put it into the extensions to increase the aesthetics of the build. In our case, we are using Fantex cable extensions, which usually go on sale at Newegg for $15. The white build, I have mixed black and white extensions, while the other build, I'm using black and gray extensions. To pair with the Ryzen 5600, we are going with these white 2-fan NVIDIA RTX 3070s from Zotac. These only draw around 200 to 220 watts of power, so I'm not really concerned about it being a 2-fan design. I was able to grab what's considered open box for $275 each, but upon arrival, they still had the plastic films on it, so it's definitely worth grabbing straight from the source. Just to double check my power supply headroom, I threw everything in a PC part picker website for a rough estimate. As you can see, we are well below the power requirements for this build at only 409 watts. Both builds come with what a lot of people consider the standard for memory these days, which is 32 gigabytes. In this case, we're using 2 times 16 gigabytes of Team Group's T-Force DDR4 3600 RGB in white. These were purchased from Newegg for $70 each. M.2 SSDs that we used were a Patriot P300 1TB SSD and Team Group's MP33 1TB SSD, which cost around $60 each on Newegg, and both carry a 5-year warranty. I've unfortunately had the pleasure of using Team Group's warranty before, but they were actually really good at getting my drive back to me in a couple weeks' time. All builds include Wi-Fi. These are no exception with an added PCIe Wi-Fi 6 Intel cards we picked up from AliExpress for $15 each. If we tally up our parts, this brings our total to $768 for each build, or $830 after state taxes. A used GPU could have definitely helped our profits, but finding one in white was not going to be an easy task. These are certainly budget oriented at first glance, but you could easily swap in a 5700X 3D and upgrade the GPU to, say, a 4070 Super with a similar power target of the 3070 at 220 watts. Spec for spec, the builds are identical with the exception of brands we ended up using out of convenience, and of course the black and white color scheme choices. Based on the metrics we use on our website, this build qualifies as a Stage 2 medium boost build, meaning it is intended to be played at 1440p resolution, where it averages closest to 100 FPS on medium settings without any upscaling. We try to include demanding titles as well as some esport titles to calculate the average expectations. With that said, let's check out some in-game benchmarks.
Wait, where'd they go? Well, actually, during the time it took me to film this video and put it together, I actually sold both of those builds, which is great, but I had them listed on my site, rotorgg.com, for $9.99 shipped. I ended up selling the all-white build for $9.50 locally, and the second build sold a week later for $8.50 plus a trade-in, which that required some extensive cleaning, but I'll save the details for another video. Our profits, valued at $9.50 each, was about $240 total, which isn't great, but the market is pretty competitive currently. Expectations around the 1,000 mark, at least from what I can tell, is like a 12th gen system or higher, and an AM5 system, I think. AM4 builds with these cards are still plenty capable, though. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this build video. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments if I've provided too much information, explained a little bit too much, or think it's possible AM4 can still net that $1,000 price tag. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. If you happen to be in the market and are interested in purchasing a build from us, definitely check us out at our website, rotorgg.com.
Buying a gaming PC can be overwhelming. At RotorGlow Games, we simplify by your target resolution. Stage 1 builds are for 1080p, Stage 2, 1440p, and Stage 3, 4K. Each build is unique, stress tested, and includes Wi-Fi standard. You can find us at rotorgg.com.